Backrooms and Iron Lung are both huge wins for digital independent media.
Well, aside from that one thing.
But they're both very long. Not regarding runtime or anything like that, they're both 2 hours long, standard movie length. I'm talking about how they're paced. Backrooms has a pretty slow start. There's a lot of I can't believe this is happening! And Iron Lung kind of drags the whole movie, but most notably during its second act. But I believe that's for a reason. That reason being, these films are both exploratory. These films, like all films, are trying to place the viewer within the strange world of the story, but coming from interactive media and new media, that's kind of hard to do. Plenty of writers can create vast worlds in the precious time granted by theatrical releases. You can show a small piece of an otherwise massive world and leave it to the audience to come up with what happens outside of the slice we're given. But here, the entirety of the world is what the creators want us to see, because the engagement with its complex mechanics are required for the story to progress. The antagonist in both of these films is the setting in which the characters find themselves. Sure, you could argue otherwise, but what the characters engage with most of the time is the surreal, nightmarish setting as a whole. And to do so, both films opt to slowly, methodically describe its workings to us, alongside the main character. But like, come on, right? This is like if I filmed someone sifting through the pieces of a puzzle. And I suppose that could be interesting if the threat of death were right in front of them, like if they had a shotgun pointed at their head. But this isn't Saw. The characters can explore items that don't always have such high stakes attached to them. Why would anyone want to watch someone else play through what amounts to be a 2-hour atmospheric video game? Oh, right. Mark kind of bumbles around, makes mistakes, and doesn't cut too frequently in his videos, and that's why I think he maybe had his own Let's Plays in mind when he was directing the movie. Both of these films kind of remind me of What Football Will Look Like in the Future by John Boyce, or 1777-6. 1777-6 is a brilliant little story about a bunch of satellites that communicate together about Earth in the future, the very, very distant future. Everyone's pretty much just chill and immortal and plays football all day, but more importantly, the story is more like an anthology or a collection of little stories banded together. They're all similar because they touch on football in the future, this strange world where everyone's immortal and football stadiums are the length of entire continents, but they're all separate stories. And even though we end up caring for the characters, the satellites that explore these strange little stories, that's how we get to know them, through that exploration. While the films adhere more to 3-act structure, they all kind of have these abrupt non-endings. There's certainly a climax and a big fight at the end of Backrooms, but its ending is left up to interpretation, and is pretty loose. Iron Lung has a definite ending, but much like the game, it kind of comes out of nowhere and it ends pretty quick.
That looks good.
And 1777-6 just kind of ends plot-wise. Ironically, even though I say the films adhere more to Hollywood 3-act structure, there's very little synthesis or denouement at the end of the film to see the new theme in action. Though you might just observe that that's the quality of the genre. I say they're alike because they all feel less like a hero's journey and more like, hey, here's a concept, let's play around with it for a little bit. Of course, Iron Lung and Backrooms adhere more to that hero's journey philosophy, but even then, I feel like they're obfuscated by the complex settings they take place in. Of course, as we delve deeper into the belly of the beast of the Backrooms, it grows more distorted and wild, but it feels less like traditional progression and more like we're hesitantly maybe moving forward. I'd liken it to a Wikipedia binge session. You're exploring all these strange hyperlinks, saving some tabs to maybe loop back on later, but the landscape presented to you is so vast and seemingly infinite that there's no true conclusion. It all leads to a different place, it all branches out infinitely. I'm certain you could find plenty of historical examples of films that take this problem-solving approach, but it all feels very fitting for adaptations of new media in particular. Modern stories are told through interactivity, unorganized webs of content, and scatterbrained thoughts. If more similar things are to be adapted like this, and not for their narrative content, but instead for how they feel to experience them, then I think you'll be seeing more of these types of movies to come. So yeah, I just want to make a video about Backrooms and Iron Lung, and I know I'm super late to it and everything, but I didn't want to talk about the obvious stuff, like, I don't know, the irony of two films, one about cultural regurgitation and another one about people being destined to fates that they can't control, outperforming Hollywood movies that are cultural regurgitations and destined to us without control over the system. I don't know, man. It's all abstract fucking bullshit anyway.